This is The Raid, exposing the dark world of America's deportation machine. I'm your host, John Carlos Frey. Today on the podcast, we're going to be taking a look at the hiring practices of the Department of Homeland Security to bring on the promised 10,000 new immigration enforcement officials by the end of 2025. The federal government has given ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, an extra $30 billion starting in 2026 to increase personnel and to ramp up the raids. To walk us through it all, I've invited Jenn Budd, former Border Patrol agent, back to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
It's nice to see you again.
It's good to see you, always.
I hate having you here under these circumstances, but you're the only person that I thought of when I was looking through what the Department of Homeland Security is doing with regard to hiring. I just saw Kristi Noem in a cabinet meeting with the president just yesterday saying that we're about there hiring 10,000 new ICE agents.
Okay.
So since July, they've brought on, according to her, 10,000 new agents. And I just want to go over the application process, and then I want to go over an article that you turned me on to about what's actually happening on the ground.
Okay.
So can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start with a press release from the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, announced that U.S. Customs Enforcement Agency will waive age limits for new applicants so that even more patriots will qualify to join ICE. This is in the press release, by the way, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Its mission is to arrest murderers, pedophiles, gang members, rapists, and other criminal aliens from America's streets. So no need to put in that rhetoric, but you kind of get what that's all about.
Right.
We're ending the age cap for ICE law enforcement, said Secretary Kristi Noem. Let me just read more details here, and then we can kind of discuss the whole bit.
Okay.
There's a package that you get if you sign up for ICE, and I'm sure you're aware that there's a signing bonus. ICE is offering a robust package for federal law enforcement incentives, including a maximum $50,000 signing bonus, student loan repayment and forgiveness options, 25% law enforcement availability pay, administrative uncontrollable overtime, enhanced retirement benefits. What do you think when I'm reading you all of these things? We're going to reduce the age. I think the age cap at the top is 65. That's
insane. I mean, not to say that there aren't 65-year-olds that can, shoot great or maybe are still in really good shape, but just the average. So I believe in the Border Patrol back in my day, it was around 54, 55, something like that. So if you were carrying a gun, then you had to retire at that age. You could move into another agency and do something that didn't require holding a gun. But the idea was that, a lot of these immigration enforcement agencies like Border Patrol, ICE, CBP, they have minimal physical standards. And over the years, they just keep dropping them. So now I guess senior citizens are fine. So I don't see why they even begin with any kind of physical standards if they're going to take people who are, in their 60s. I'm not sure. It kind of really goes against their argument that, you have to be in really good shape to do these jobs, and they're chasing down the roughest, toughest criminals, the worst of the worst. If you're hiring senior citizens, then that seems to be not the case.
So even in the press release where it says, criminal aliens, rapists, and these really hardened criminals, you're going to let everybody into your police force. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure specifically when we talk about the different immigration enforcement agencies. I'm not sure what ICE's minimum age was before, but I know in the Border Patrol, I knew even in the 90s, I knew 17-year-olds. So they maybe they dropped out of high school and got their equivalency test, and then they could be Border Patrol agents. And that was their very first job. So all of what you described in there has been going on in the United States Border Patrol since the mid-90s.
According to the press release, you were talking about recruits right out of high school.
Right.
You can be as young as 16 if you've graduated from high school, if you have an emancipation letter from your parents. So
Yeah.
the lower end of the age limit is 16. Do you want a 16-year-old holding you at gunpoint or arresting you?
So this is somebody who can't even drink a beer, after work kind of thing, and they have no experience, and they don't understand why the people are coming across. But I think if they specifically join, Border Patrol itself, the guys in green in between the ports of entry, then we're talking about a 16-year-old with a very powerful weapon as his sidearm. It's probably going to be a 40 caliber or 45 caliber. And then that person would also have the ability to have a law enforcement style shotgun. So you can have a lot of ammo in that shotgun. And then as we see today that they're carrying around assault rifles. So that's a lot of ammo for a 16-year-old. And you're going to put them out on the border in the middle of nowhere with no oversight, with no supervision. And so this person can be arresting children, can be arresting female migrants, can be doing anything that they want to these people. And there's no oversight whatsoever, which is already a problem in the Border Patrol with the people who are over 21 years of age. So.
Yeah, people don't understand that Border Patrol agents typically along the border will patrol by themselves.
Yes.
They don't have a partner with them.
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the application page with Uncle Sam.
America needs you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Below the Uncle Sam artwork is a choose your mission. So it's an application where what kind of an agent or officer do you want to be? Do you want to work on city streets, doing ICE raids? Do you want to be at the border? Do you want to be in investigations? I mean, there's all the applications that you can apply for. So choose your mission.
Interesting.
Uncle Sam, and then $50,000 signing bonus, $60,000 student loan repayment, and a 25% premium pay. I mean, they're really throwing a lot of money at these people. Do you have thoughts? I want kind of your take on the rhetoric of this idea that we're at war. Uncle Sam was a recruiter for World War II. It's not a recruitment tool for immigration officers, or it seems strange to me. Does it seem strange to you?
Well, it is strange to me because I understand what war is and what a declaration of war is, and there's not a declaration of war against migrants in this country or immigrants in this country. There's not a declaration of war on the southern border. There's been no declaration of an invasion, even though they keep saying it is an invasion. And they're just using these words to be able to justify what they're doing. So a lot of Border Patrol agents these days, they call the southern border a war zone. But when you look at it, it's a war zone on the migrants that die down there. Very rarely do Border Patrol agents end up losing their lives down there. That's not to say that some don't, some do, but the Border Patrol itself is one of the safest jobs that you can have because the majority of people coming across are seeking asylum. Less than 1% are criminals. So it's not that there aren't some coming across, some criminals, but it's very rare. And so they're conflating this idea. They're trying to use wartime powers in what is civilian law enforcement.
For what purpose? Is this a recruiting tactic to make people who they want to hire or people that they want to have fill out an application?
That's part of it, but it's also, if you invoke Uncle Sam, then I think certainly for people who are older, when you see Uncle Sam, you think, okay, this is a legitimate thing. This is a legitimate cause kind of thing.
Your government needs you.
Your government needs you. And so some of what they're doing is to draw you in with patriotism.
Like it's a worthy cause?
Yeah,
to be an
it's a
ICE
worthy
agent
cause.
Or a Border Patrol agent?
Yeah, and so they're trying to get them to it's not just about policing the migrants kind of thing. It's you're saving your country. You need to do this for your country. Are you strong enough to do this for your country? So there's a lot of propaganda, but also a lot of, I would say, American exceptionalism sewn into an advertisement like that.
If I show up for the job, though, I'm going to feel a little cheated.
And that happens.
Because it's not true.
And now you know why I say honor first is a lie. So the motto for the Border Patrol is honor first. And that is one of the things I talk about is They beat that into you in the academies, and they'll beat that into the ICE agents, even though they have short academies. You're honorable, and this is what you're doing, and then we'll talk about that every single day. And then they're going to get in the field, and after a couple of years, they're going to know a bunch of classmates that were arrested because they should have never been ICE agents. They're going to know of other classmates who are doing crimes and getting away with it. They're going to see that the federal government's oversight system into these agencies is so corrupt and filled with its own agents that this whole thing is a sham. It's all about making money. They need more ICE agents. They need more Border Patrol agents and CBP agents, not because people are invading our country. They need more of that so that they can hold more people in detentions and put more people in detention so that they can make more money. This is about making more money.
What people then are vulnerable to that kind of ideology? You and I know it's a scam.
Yeah.
You and I can see through it. What kind of people then fall prey to the ads, to the pictures of Uncle Sam, to like who are the people that they're targeting to become recruits?
Well, they're targeting young people like I was when I joined. I joined because I did not have family support. I had nowhere to go. I had to find a job and go out on my own. I just graduated college, but my choice was either go to law school and incur more debt and probably stay at home, which was not good for me, or join this thing called the Border Patrol that would start me on my career. A lot of people have asked me, like, what is the one characteristic of the majority of these agents or people willing to join these agencies? And I always say the number one characteristic is low self-esteem. They cannot find jobs anywhere else because they lack the education, they lack the experience, and they cannot find a job anywhere else that has benefits, that gives them automatic status once they graduate with a badge, and people respect you because of that. They treat you differently in public because they see that. And they're not going to be able to make $100,000 in 2 or 3 years like they can there. And that's why a lot of the agents, they know what it is. They know all this is a scam, but they can't go anywhere because they'll get like 50 years old. And apparently now you can stay into your 60s. And where are they going to go? They're still that same 18, 20-year-old who doesn't have experience, who doesn't have an education. Their only experience is in these immigration agencies, and they have to stay there. They can't go anywhere else and make that money. Now they have kids in college, and they're stuck.
Do you think that, I mean, which came first, sort of chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Is it the low self-esteem kid who is a loner, who doesn't have many prospects, doesn't have any experience, comes from a broken home? Is he being targeted by the administration? Are they making ads for him because they want somebody who's that moldable or malleable, someone who they can form? Do you know what I mean? He's a good recruit, right?
That's exactly what they're doing. And when you pull in the American propaganda and all this other stuff, and you can come be one of us, you're telling them, come be in my family. In the Border Patrol, we call it the green family. I bleed green. They're like cults in there. They become your family. And when they get in there, you go through the academies. Your whole life while you're at the academy is Border Patrol or ICE. It's just always inundated. Then when you get out, you're working 10 to 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. Everything you're ingesting is stuff that agrees with you. And nowadays, they have all these news agencies and television shows that agree with what they're doing. And so that is what they're doing. And they feel like this is our family. So a lot of the agents, like one of the reasons why the immigration agencies do not do psychological profiles on us like regular police departments do is because they're hiring a lot of us with problems. I'm bipolar too. I had extremely low self-esteem. I was severely beaten as a child. Border Patrol became my family. And I came from a brutalized family, so this really isn't that much different.
So if you have to do things that might lean toward immoral,
yep,
or against what you know is right from wrong,
yep,
just to sort of get approval from your family,
yep,
you might beat someone up or you might go over the line.
Yep.
We want you. We want people like you who will take our orders.
Yep.
What does that do to the people who are coming to this country fleeing turmoil, fleeing chaos, fleeing for their lives or poverty? I mean, it sort of categorizes them as an enemy, right?
It makes them, in the terms that they're using, and it makes them enemy combatants, which is, again, this confusion around the difference between civilian policing and military policing. And we have seen that in the Border Patrol for decades, especially after 9/11, where the agents in the Border Patrol see those coming across not as asylum seekers who take more paperwork than people who are Mexican just coming to look for work kind of thing. And they see them as invaders. That's how they see it. So they treat them as enemy combatants as opposed to civilians who cannot come across legally and are trying to find an immigration officer to process them.
Can I just read you then again from the press release? This is the Department of Homeland Security categorizing the types of people that you're going to be facing. And one of the reasons, as you're saying, this romanticizing Save America sort of ideology. And they put this in the press release that you're going to be arresting murderers, pedophiles, gang members, rapists, and other criminal aliens. Is that dominant? Is that?
No. When you look at CBP's statistics, so CBP are the people in blue at the ports of entry, and then Border Patrol are the people in green in between the ports of entry that now you're seeing in your cities with
And you can
ICE.
add ICE into that
and
mix
you can
too?
add ICE into that mix too. Every single one of their individual statistics for their own apprehensions. ICE has higher statistics because they're supposed to be going after criminal aliens, people with priors or people with records, people that are now serving their time in jail and they're waiting for them to get out. That's what ICE is supposed to do. But right now, what we're seeing with the mass deportation that is being led by the Border Patrol is that they are getting, I believe I want to say in Chicago, they made, I don't know how many arrests, but I think it was less than 10% had any criminal charges against them. And then when you look into those criminal charges, most of them are like DUIs, didn't pay spousal support, that kind of thing. And so they're criminalizing them all the way down the line. And the irony is that you have ICE agents getting arrested in Chicago on duty who are showing up to meet a 14-year-old girl. Let me clarify.
Well, I can kind of add the numbers to you because the Chicago numbers just came out from Operation Midway Blitz.
Okay.
1.5% of 2,000 people that they apprehended had actual felony convictions.
And that's
1.5%.
Okay, so not 10%, 1.5%. So that's about average. So when you look at the Border Patrol's numbers, not when they're in the cities, but on the southern border, when you look at Border Patrol's numbers, they average around 1% of their apprehensions every year, sometimes less than 1%, sometimes a little bit more than 1%, 1.2, 1.3%, have criminal convictions for crimes. And like I said, it's a whole list of them. Once you start taking out the ones that aren't violent, it's a lot less than 1%, maybe 0.05, 0.03 to 0.05.
Well, my issue with that is, what is the federal government doing then? I mean, those are really bad odds. It's just like putting a fishnet in a pond and scooping out a bunch of fish and then finding, oh, wow, we happen to get a criminal in and amongst all this group. But indiscriminately, they're just rounding a whole bunch of people up, hoping there's a bad seed in there. That's what it feels like to me. 1.5% is a pretty bad batting average.
It's very bad.
If you're going after criminal aliens, which is what the administration is saying, you're only getting 1.5%. You're only getting 23, which was the number out of 2,000.
I mean, they will tell you, well, that's because people were preventing us from doing this. They're fighting against us and we can't do our jobs and we can't get to the real criminals. But those real criminals don't really exist because like I said, even the Border Patrol numbers for the people who are illegally crossing is around 1% have criminal backgrounds that they need to be stopping. But here's the kicker, John, is since 2018, Border Patrol agents as a population every year are committing a higher percentage of violent crimes than the people they're arresting. So when you look at...
So the force is more crooked than the people they're arresting.
Yes, that is exactly what's going on. And even and that's just with what they're willing to report. That's not even all the people, because they say that the agents have to report being arrested voluntarily. So we don't really know how many are really being arrested. And then there's a lot of them. Let's say you have a domestic violence and this and that, and the sheriff comes out, but you know the sheriff or the deputy. And then there's that professional courtesy that they give each other, and they talk the victim out of filing because you don't want him to lose his job and all that. So there's all these professional courtesies given to these agents who are committing crimes, but not to, obviously, the migrants coming across. But what I'm saying, yes, is that the agencies hire, and sometimes knowingly hire, people with rape in their background, people who are under investigation for major felony robberies, people under investigation for strangulation and sexual assault. They hire them. They had one guy in the Border Patrol few years ago, I think it was in the first Trump administration, who was a supervisor and had 13 years in service, and he was undocumented.
Ironic. I want to get into that part of it, because there's some numbers about the people that they have started to recruit and the people who are in training right now with that hiring increase. The last little bit of that press release that I wanted you to comment on were the dollar amounts. Mm-hmm. The Department of Homeland Security is throwing money at people to come into ICE. What does that do? I mean, a $50,000 signing bonus, for someone who's never seen $50,000 before, is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And the salaries seem pretty high, and the benefit packages and all of that. Is that because they can't find people?
Yes, they cannot find people. So they have to keep adding to the enticement to get people to come. And the fact that they have to drop the rate down to 16 years of age, 16 or 17 years of age, and increase it to 65, that doesn't say we have plenty of applicants who are qualified. That says we don't have enough people that are coming. And the problem, especially right now, but if you're looking at these mass deportations on TikTok or Facebook or whatever, Instagram, and you're seeing these agents shoot a priest in the head with a pepper ball, and you're seeing them grab a woman who's protesting and throwing her on the ground and beating her and all this other stuff, and you're like, well, that looks pretty damn good to me. Is that the person you want to have all this authority, to have all these weapons, to be able to go out and do that kind of stuff? People who look at that and say, I want to go beat some ass too, kind of thing. That's the type of people that they're going to get. And so, this happened after 9/11. This happened after 9/11 when they had this huge rush to hire people, and they lowered the amount of time in the academies and this and that. They ended up getting people who wanted to join to beat some ass. And we had a lot of people killed on the border, a lot of use of force violations that the Border Patrol then covered up, and all these other things. So when you do something like this, you might not see it immediately, but in the next decade, you're going to have agents hired with known cartel ties, because they're not going to do the background checks that they need to do.
That was a known tactic in the era that you're talking about, right after 9/11, that Mexican drug cartels started putting their own into the U.S. Border Patrol, because the vetting process was almost non-existent. It would be really easy to become a Border Patrol agent at that time. So cartel became Border Patrol agents.
Yeah. And they lowered the physical standards, which I just found out recently. So I joined in 95, and we were in a big hiring surge. And so we did see some of this, but it wasn't to this extent. But, in 1995, it was a lot of the same thing was going on. And you would see agents getting out of the academy, and they had not even finished their background checks.
I've also, in my own reporting, that to do such a massive a hiring surge all at once is very dangerous. You want to incrementally grow your force because you're going to increase the size of the rookies.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to double the size of ICE agents
Mm-hmm.
within a period of less than a year. So half of your force is going to be new on the job.
Yep.
And they're the ones that make the most mistakes.
And so the agents that are there now that are not in management and maybe have 1 to 3 years in are going to be promoted to supervisory level positions, and they are too young to be in that position as well.
Okay, so now what I consider to be the shocking. I mean, it's not surprising that if you drop hiring standards, you entice people with lots of money and you sort of build it as a patriotic urge for you to fulfill to protect your country, you're going to get a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they say. There was another press release after the one that I read you that Kristi Noem sent out that said that they had a record number of applicants for these jobs. You're already laughing.
Wow, the word applicants is chosen on purpose. So.
Right. It was 175,000 applicants for 10,000 jobs. So
Yeah.
she's basically saying that there's a massive demand, that people understand that the United States is in crisis at the border or with migrants, and all of these people want to come and help.
I think there's a massive amount of people in the United States who don't have a job that pays like that. There's a massive amount of people who don't have a job that has all those benefits. That's what she's seeing. That doesn't mean they necessarily want to be ICE, but you think about all these government employees who've been laid off in the last 6 to 9 months. They have to go somewhere too.
Well, let me enlighten you a little bit more than that too,
Okay.
because the Daily Mail just wrote an article about who the people are that are showing up for these jobs or who are applying for these jobs. And one of the issues were these numbers. Who are the 175,000 people who have applied for these jobs? The Daily Mail kind of broke it down. They got on the inside, they have an informant, and they said a lot of the 175,000 were duplicates. So it wasn't really 175,000. It looks like AI bots got into the 175,000.
Really? Wow.
So they weren't even real applicants.
Interesting.
And then people started having fun with this because the administration started promoting the fact that they were breaking records with the applicants. So they started putting in fictitious names. They put in their dogs' names. They put in unknown names, and they started getting replies. So a lot of these 175,000 number of applicants is bullshit.
Most things that come out of these agencies' mouths, like DHS is the department, and then underneath them, ICBP and Border Patrol, they frequently lie. I mean, they just don't think they don't think twice about it. They think this just supports what I need to happen, and so I'm just going to say it. And they
It's
just
a propaganda machine?
It's a propaganda machine. It's huge propaganda going on over there. Yeah.
To what end? Like, why? I mean, they're tasked with protecting the country's borders. It's a serious role.
It's a serious role. Yeah.
So why do we need to propagandize? Why do we need to look good?
Because they're interested in you believing that it's worse than it is.
What's worse?
That they want you to think that we have been invaded by all these people and every single one of them is a criminal, and that the border is so dangerous that we have to militarize it and make it into a war zone and this and that. But as we talked about, we're talking about less than 2% of the population that need to be looked at.
But my point is, why not just spout the real numbers? Why not just tell the truth? Why do you have to inflate? Why do you have to lie about 175,000 applicants if you know there aren't that many people signing up? I don't understand the reason or the motive.
I guess
behind
because
it.
they want to say that Americans are behind them is what I would imagine it is. Because I know right now the administration is underwater on their approval records. I know more people are on the polls. I know more people are complaining and saying they're not happy with what they're doing on immigration. And so I think they're trying to tell people, no, everybody wants to be an ICE agent. Don't you want to be an ICE agent too? And so they want everybody to keep being on board with all of this so that they can keep doing what they're doing and then push it even further. All this is tied to what they're planning to do down the road at the same time.
This is all political spin.
It's political spin. It's going to give them more power, as we've seen Border Patrol is taking over and taking more power. And they're just constantly trying to grab more power and justify the next step.
Okay, well, let's dig a little bit deeper. So everything that I'm going to read you is from this great Daily Mail article that just came out December 2nd. So I urge anybody to look it up. Here's what's happening. The Daily Mail did a deep dive investigation into who the recruits are. So Kristi Noem is saying we're going to have 10,000 by the end of the year. They're very close to that number now. A lot of these individuals who applied are now in the training process. Mm-hmm. So here are some of the facts that are coming out from the training itself. This is a quote here, because people are being fast-tracked. We have people failing open book tests. Mm-hmm. You know what an open book test is, where you have the answers.
Yeah.
You're taking the test and you have the answers right next to you in an open book. And people are failing open book tests. And we have folks that can barely read or write.
Yep.
You're saying yes. We have people who do not speak English.
Yep.
One Department of Homeland Security member of Homeland Security told the Daily Mail that we even had a 469-pound man sent to the academy whose own doctor certified him not at all fit for any physical activity. This is the person who showed up for training.
I would say that that's a problem within their structure.
Of course.
Obviously, that person shouldn't have been able to get that far.
This is a disaster. These are people who are carrying guns.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a cashier at Walmart here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a complete waste of money and waste of time if you're going to have somebody that's unfit. And my understanding is that they're probably going to, and you might tell me, they're probably going to cut the amount of time that they're in the academy in half. So they're not going to be able to get in physical shape. That should all be evaluated before you spend the money to send somebody to an academy. That's ridiculous.
In one shocking incident, staff were left shaking their heads when one student asked to be excused from the class in training so that he wouldn't miss his court date on a gun charge.
Well,
you think it's funny?
No, I mean, I don't.
It's really scary.
I don't think it's funny.
I can see it in your face. It's not surprising to you, is it?
It's not surprising, and that's why I'm laughing. This is the same stuff that has been going on since probably before I was an agent. In the 90s in the Border Patrol. I say to people all the time, you would not believe there's a lot of great people in these agencies. There's a lot of intelligent people in these agencies, but there's a whole lot of people that are extremely incompetent. They cannot run computers. They cannot write full sentences. They cannot fill out, court documents like they need to. They can't write the narratives to make the cases that they need to. And this is kind of what you end up seeing on the streets with, the way they're behaving, just like, quite honestly, like thugs and stuff. I don't know what ICE's requirements were for ICE specifically, but it sounds like they're becoming more like the Border Patrol.
We'll get there.
Where they're just throwing anybody and everybody in there.
Give me a moment. I'll get you there. Those lacking prior experience can start collecting salaries in a matter of days. So they were hiring people and starting to pay them before they even started training. And if there was a waiting period to be trained, they were still on salary. They're enticing people with all of this money. They didn't even have to show up for training yet. They rubber stamped them as being paid before their training even started. That's to make the HR part of it a little bit smoother and easier. Instead of having to process people in, they just started sending them checks. I'm just telling you, the whole thing is a disaster.
I've never heard of that. That's something entirely new. That I mean, maybe existed in other administrations, but I have never heard of anything so ridiculous.
I'll read it verbatim. Those lacking prior experience can start collecting salaries in a matter of days.
Only if you're in the academy.
Rubber stamped by an overstretched HR department that clears applicants to enter on duty status with little to no screening. They haven't been vetted yet. They haven't fully been hired yet. They haven't started training yet, and they're already being paid just to streamline the HR process. this is what kind of a disaster this entire massive hiring is happening here. I mean, we're talking about a system that's completely out of whack.
And obviously, they're not even making them go through the physical. You have to do a basic physical to get in there. I mean, we're talking about the 400-plus pound man. A lot of people can't become police officers because their vision is not good enough. You have to be able to have 20/50 vision uncorrected. I think now they take LASIK, but back in my day, they didn't. So once they test them with their eyes or find out that they can't shoot well, they're not going to be able to stay. They're going to kick them out.
Well, to that point, if I were to tell you that ICE's training is standard, usually 16 weeks, 4 months, what would be a good reduction that you would be comfortable with in order to streamline people through, in order to get them through a little bit more quickly? What would you be satisfied with because they've reduced that 16-week number to something less?
I think it should be more than 16 weeks because what they're dealing with, ICE is an agency all alone. They are required to do in-depth investigations about immigrants who are already in the country to determine whether or not they are deportable and then how to handle that. That's a very serious result of, what's going to happen to somebody. You're going to take their life away. And I think being an investigator, which is what an ICE agent is, as opposed to a Border Patrol agent out on the line, I think 16 weeks is not enough. I think it should be a minimum of 6 months and then 2 years probation is standard for basic local police departments and sheriff's departments.
But if Kristi Noem called you and said, we need to get them through fast, what would you be willing, if you were in a supervisory position, what you're going to have to reduce it from 16 weeks. What would you do? You wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't
even touch it.
I just wouldn't even touch it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to read you because you're not participating here. You're not cooperating here very well. 16 weeks of training has been reduced to 6 weeks to streamline.
Did they take out the language requirement?
There is no Spanish language requirement anymore.
They did that in the Border Patrol after 9/11, and they were saying we're going to handle the Spanish part of it, once they get to their stations, and then they'll learn Spanish there. But they never really do.
There is no Spanish language requirement, period.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah.
The training has been reduced from 16 weeks to 6 weeks to streamline people through.
Well, that makes it a lot easier when you're arresting or kidnapping somebody and they're yelling at you in Spanish, and then you can just ignore them. Because
what do you think a
understand
16 to 6 weeks reduction is going to do with the force? They're not going to be ready.
No, they're not going to be ready. What they are creating is a force that will obey their orders, whether they're verbal, because most of the really illegal orders that you get, the unethical and immoral orders that you get in these agencies are not written down. You're getting people that don't understand the Constitution. They don't understand what their role is in all of this and how they could be held liable for all of these things. They're basically creating a militia. They're creating a militia out of inexperienced, sounds like uneducated, and just people willing to do whatever they want them to do.
Just by the way, the Daily Mail, when it comes to their deep dive investigations, is highly reputable. This is not a bunch of bullshit here. This is a UK publication that does incredible work. So I take everything that they have in this article.
It sounds like it's
heart.
very in-depth.
According to the article, the reason that they're doing all of this stuff that is shocking the conscience is because they want to make their quota. They want to make their 10,000. They don't really care necessarily that everybody is vetted and everybody is qualified. That doesn't seem to be the priority here. The priority here seems to be either to please the president or to, as you say, propagandize what they're doing to make it look like, they're helping out America. They're going to save America from these invaders. We said 10,000, and by God, we're going to make it 10,000. So that seems to be more important. Does that surprise you?
No, because I know that Stephen Miller is actually running this, and so I know that he said he wanted 3,000 undocumented people arrested every day. They've not been able to do that, so they're still trying to get to that number. So that's what I say when they're creating a militia. They're just going to have groups of these ICE thugs running around, and they'll have somebody with 2 or 3 years in saying, go do this, go grab that guy, go do this. So they're just going to be out in the street grabbing people.
This kind of goes to your physical requirements to become an agent. There are physical requirements, but those are being lowered here. And there's an anecdote here in the article that says you have students who are failing physical training because they can't run. They can't run, and they can't do sit-ups. And so the academy recently eliminated the sit-up requirement.
What?
So what it says here.
Do sit-ups.
The academy recently eliminated the sit-up requirement because so many students couldn't handle them.
I guess
so they just get rid of them so that they can pass.
They've been constantly lowering these standards. And it's interesting because they say they portray themselves as to be heroes and nobody can do this and we're the bravest and the strongest and all this other stuff. And then you read stuff like this and they can't even do sit-ups. I mean, are they going to start recruiting from assisted living facilities next? What's next?
Apparently there aren't very many standards, and I can paint the worst case scenario for you, but all of these individuals are coming online for the most part in 2026 when they're going to start ramping up the ICE raids. There's a lot of money invested in this. There are new detention facilities that have been built, and they're waiting for these ICE agents to come on board to ramp them all up, as well as Border Patrol agents. There's also an increase in the force there, and there's money being dumped there. So what do you expect to see next year?
I expect to see a lot more violence.
From the agents themselves.
From the agents themselves, ICE, Border Patrol, CBP. I expect them to feel like they can order state police and local police what to do. That's going to cause
sorry
friction.
To stop you. Can I ask why you say more violence? Are these people who just don't know right from wrong? Are they just gun happy? Why do you say more violence?
I mean, it takes, when you get out of the academies, you're gung-ho. You don't really understand the difference between teaching in a class and then being in the field and understanding that there are different and better ways maybe to handle things, and it takes experience. And when you have zero experience and you all have zero experience and they just unleash you on a city, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see a lot more ramming with the cars because they've seen agents get away with that. You're going to see a lot more probably we'll see some more shootings, actually. I think the thing that's going to cause the most stress is we are going to, I think, see it turned on Americans because they are going to just start going after anybody of color. Whereas a lot of agents who've had, 5 years in or something like that, they might, kind of differentiate between somebody who looks like they just arrived versus somebody who's been here a long time. And they're going to pick people up just for speaking a different language. They're going to pick them up for working at a car wash. They're going to go into churches. They're going to go into schools. And they're going to start taking children. They've already done that. ICE has more children in custody right now than they have, I think, ever.
Ever.
Yeah. So we're just going to see more and more of that. And instead of watching Bovino go from city to city to city, Bovino, the Border Patrol chief that's in charge of all these, he went to LA and then Chicago, Charlotte, now he's going to New Orleans. They're probably going to have other groups as well that will become just as infamous as Greg Bovino.
You don't have much faith in the new force coming in?
Oh, no. It's going to be a shit show. It'll be a shit show, yeah.
Thank you for your candid comments.
Yeah, always.
Thank you for listening to The Raid, available wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about our guests and the subjects we cover, please visit our website at theraidpodcast.org.